Spider-Man is one of the greatest fictional characters to ever be created. Many even call him the greatest superhero ever made. And I don't blame him. Spider-Man is one of my favorite superheroes, and with the release of Insomniac Spider-Man's 2 coming out soon, I thought to myself, who would win? The duo of Insomniac's Peter and Miles, or the live-action Spider-Man, Tobey, Andrew, and Tom? With the release of the Spider-Verse movies, this question is only more relevant, as it makes sense for them to interact with each other in such a way. And as a Spider-Man fan myself, I thought, let's make a video. So let's get to it. So before we get too deep into the video, let's set the ground rules. We will only use base forms of each character, so no black suit Toby, and no Iron Spider suit Tom or Edith glasses. Just think about it as the 3 Spider-Men in the movie No Way Home, and we will be using Peter and Miles from the Insomniac Spider-Man Miles Morales game, as Spider-Man 2 has not been released yet. Any gadgets, however, can be used, so Tom has access to any Stark tech, and the Insomniac duo has access to their gadgets in-game. To start off the scaling, let's look at Insomniac Spider-Man. For AP Peter, he is stated in the character bio to be able to lift up to 10 tons. Of course, this is a massive low ball for the character, and it kind of shows that Insomniac just throws things in the bio, and it doesn't really make any sense at all. They constantly lowball their characters. For example, Peter can only lift up to 10 tons, but he was able to lift 2 subway cars. A New York City subway car weighs about 82,000 pounds. Times that by 2, those 2 cars weigh 164,000 pounds. A single ton weighs 2,000. 10 tons weigh 20,000. So that subway car feat weighs about 82 tons alone. So Insomniac massively downplayed Peter's strength in the bio. Later in the game, we see Peter with 14 broken bones able to stun Rhino. This said Rhino was able to tank building level blasts head on with no signs of slowing down or damage. And a nerfed Peter is able to stun him. This grants Peter AP that's superior to building level. Now with Miles, he has similar feats with pulling the subway car as well. This grants Miles strength above the 10-ton statement given to Peter. So again, that shit is a low ball. Miles in the beginning of his game was able to stun Rhino in base, but when he unlocked his Venom ability, he was able to completely overpower and knock Rhino out cold. Again, this same Rhino minutes before was walking through building level explosions with no problem, but Miles drops him in seconds. Miles with his Venom power was also able to power a city block in Harlem with just a simple touch. This would grant Miles at least city block's level of AP. But back to Peter, it took Rhino multiple Venom strikes to be knocked out cold, so he can take city block attacks, and Peter with 14 broken bones was able to stun him, so it can be argued Peter has low city block level AP. And I feel that it isn't a stretch to say this, as according to Versus Wiki, which is a standard rule set held in Versus debates, if you are able to exert force comparable to more than 11 tons, you have city block level AP. Do with that information as you will, but I personally will comfortably set Miles at city block level and Peter to building level. Maybe city block level, it really depends on how you see it. Now, speed is a lot easier to rank for the Spider-Men. It isn't their base movement speed that is impressive, but more of their reaction speed, attacks they're able to perceive and dodge. Peter with 14 broken bones was able to react to Electro. In case you didn't know, Electro uses electricity. Electricity is 670,616,629 miles per hour. That's a fucking big number. This gives Peter massively hypersonic plus levels of reaction speed. This was Peter nerfed, however. It is very possible a healthy Peter can react to even faster attacks. Miles doesn't have an impressive speed feat of such caliber. Miles was able to react to and beat 2 hologram versions of Vulture. Pre-auto Vulture, though, was stated to be able to travel up to 94 miles per hour. Now this can be argued to be slower than he actually is due to the Peter statement being a low ball, but we don't have any evidence to prove he actually was faster as Otto upgraded Vulture's tech to make him as faster, basically. Miles was also able to react and defeat the Tinkerer. The Tinkerer was able to travel 6,500 feet in the air above the lower level of clouds in about 10 seconds. This gives Finn subsonic speed. Miles hasn't shown to be able to dodge electricity like Peter, but you can argue has similar levels of speed due to showing relativity with Peter on his missions. Now, reaction speed doesn't mean Peter and Miles can move that fast, just they are able to react to and dodge attacks that do move that fast. But Peter and Miles are still able to get tagged by slower attacks. So Peter has massively hypersonic levels of reaction speed, and Miles has subsonic levels of reaction speed, possibly higher due to relativity with Peter. Now on to durability. Their durability actually outscales their AP. Now AP equals durability. You have to survive the force you exert, and Peter doesn't get injured while punching Rhino, so Peter has building levels of durability. But it gets better. Peter actually took a building level explosion head on top of Rhino's back, then survived a beating from Rhino. and he didn't sustain any serious injuries from this fight at all. In JJJ's podcast, Just the Facts with JJJ, repetitive name, he states that Electro, while in prison at the raft, was able to power the whole facility. The raft is a supermax prison used to contain superpowered villains held on a small island. And Peter, with 14 broken bones, was able to take blasts from the same Electro with boosted gear from Otto. I would say this gives Peter city block levels of durability. Really depends on how you scale the raft. This isn't inconsistent to say either, as Peter took a beating from the Sinister Six, and all he got from it was 14 broken bones. Even while Peter was chasing Electro, we see him casually destroying the raft building just by moving around. Miles has an even more impressive durability showing than Peter. Miles, as well as Peter, was able to take a building level explosion head on. Miles also was able to hold in energy that powers a skyscraper. It is stated that holding in energy like this actually hurts Miles. And then he survived releasing it, so he survived the said explosion. But Miles' greatest durability feat is when post-Tinkerer fight, a weakened and fatigued Miles was able to absorb and hold energy that was going to destroy the neighborhood of Harlem. Even surviving said explosion, then proceeded to fall 6,500 feet above low-level clouds and survive. So I can say Peter has city blocks level of durability and Miles has town levels. Now for fighting skill, this isn't talked about much, which I don't really understand. It's a very underrated category, but Insomniac Peter, he has the hands. He got them bitches for sure. Peter, while holding back, was able to defeat Taskmaster. Taskmaster has the ability to copy moves after seeing them, sort of like a photographic memory. Taskmaster, prior to fighting Peter, was actually studying him, learning his moves. And not just that, but Taskmaster stated himself that he has fought the Avengers. Now, it's not confirmed if it's the whole Avengers team or just certain members. We also don't know who exactly makes up the team of the Avengers, but there are multiple confirmed characters in the universe such as Daredevil, Doctor Strange, Black Panther, Captain America, Iron Man, Wasp, and Thor. Feats for these characters don't exist, but for Peter, while holding back, was able to defeat Taskmaster, who copied not only Peter's moves, but Avenger moves as well, shows Peter is skilled in hand-to-hand combat. Now you might bring up Silver Sable dogging Peter multiple times, but Peter stated in Sable's character bio that she is the greatest fighter he has ever seen. Now Miles isn't shown to be as skilled as Peter, but he has trained under Peter, even completing the hologram challenges set by him. Now, for experience, Peter has been through it all. As of Miles Morales, Peter has been Spider-Man for 9 years. Peter has even fought all sorts of super-powered villains, gangs, and even armies. Peter even has experience fighting reality-bending characters. So fighting super-powered people is just an everyday thing for Insomniac Spider-Man. Miles, however, is not as experienced. Miles has been Spider-Man for less than a year, but is still training under Peter. He has his own fair share of experiences, however, fighting gangs and private armies all on his own. He even fought Rhino, Tinkerer, and the Prowler. Miles also has experience fighting Vulture, which he has beat 2 hollow versions Peter created. Peter and Miles are both insanely smart. This category doesn't really matter, as all Spider-Man in this video are smart, and neither Peter or Miles really showed any crazy levels of battle IQ that would affect this fight. Now for abilities, it's quite standard. Well, at least for Peter, as he just possesses normal Spider-Man powers. But Miles has a more vast arsenal. Miles possesses inner bioelectricity, which he calls Venom. Miles can shock others who touch him, and his Venom power transfers to anyone in contact with those that are shocked or himself. Before death, Miles lets out a huge Venom blast that was built up in his body. So near death, he will just release all of it. He also possesses the ability to turn invisible, which he calls camouflage. And when he uncloaks himself, he lets out a blinding light. Then, of course, he possesses normal Spider-Man powers as a Spider-Man would. Miles' Spider Sense is able to react to Prowler, who's able to turn invisible as well, so his Spider-Man sense is actually better than Peter's is. Now, gadgets are where it gets interesting for the Insomniac characters. Here's a list of items that Peter and Miles possess. Peter has Charged Outer Mesh. He electrifies his suit surface, temporarily shocking whoever touches it. He has Stormbolt Discharger. He builds up electrical charge and releases it through his fists. Impact Webs, stronger web shooters. He has a Spider Drone, a small Spider Drone that fires blasts at enemies. He has Electric Webs. He has Web Bombs. He has Trip Mines, which are laser activated web traps. He has a Concussive Blast in his web shooters, a discharge of pulse of sonic waves. He has a Suspension Matrix, which lifts enemies in the air and holds them there. Now, Miles also has a lot of gadgets as well. He also has Hollow Drones. Miles can summon 3 AI drones to help him fight and explode when they're defeated. Peter and Miles might have access to Hollow Vultures. They never shown this in gameplay, but in lore, Peter created it and had Miles fight it for a training session. So it's very possible he can just throw out a Vulture drone. Miles also has a remote mine. He fires a mine that electrifies enemies. and he has a gravity well which pulls enemies together. Now for weaknesses, these aren't any like kryptonite levels of weakness where he'll just die, but these are things that affect him. Besides, of course, the normal human stuff that can kill him, Peter's spider sense is actually pretty poor, as he has been snuck up on multiple times, and it's kind of crazy. And due to Peter having so much technology in his mask, any disruption to cell towers actually hurts him. Now these are such minor injuries, and Peter can always just take the mask off, no problem. Miles is the same thing with human vulnerabilities, but Venom suppressing tech neutralizes his Venom power. This is not something we will have to worry about in this fight, however. Heat signature tracking counters Miles' camouflage ability, so him turning invisible, if you're able to see his heat signature, then there's no point. And it is not confirmed, but Miles has a lot of tech in his mask as well as Peter, so maybe he suffers a similar weakness. Now for teamwork, this is very underrated, but it's going to play a major part in this fight. Will Peter and Miles be able to mesh together as they fight together? And the answer is yes. Miles and Peter have been working together for as long as Miles has been Spider-Man, and Miles has been training under Peter, so they are used to working together. Now that we went over the Insomniac Spider-Man, let's look at their opposition, the more popular and well-known live-action movie Spider-Man. Now for AP, the beloved Tobey Maguire OG Spider-Man scales above his fellow Spider-Man. In Spider-Man 1, a fresh Spider-Man-powered Tobey was more powerful than Norman Osborn's Green Goblin. This said Green Goblin overpowered Tom Holland in No Way Home. Tobey even overpowered the Lizard. This same Lizard was able to overpower Tom Holland and pin Andrew Garfield to the floor. And in Spider-Man 3, Tobey was able to overpower Harry Osborn, who took a perfected Goblin serum that made him stronger than Norman. Tobey even overpowered a bloodlusting Tom Holland when he was trying to kill Green Goblin, and Tobey got in the way and stopped him. Now with Andrew, he also scales to his fellow Spider-Man. When in No Way Home, Andrew was able to overpower a Lizard after being pinned down. Again, this same Lizard overpowered Tom Holland. Now every Spider-Man scaling chain is off of Tom, so how strong is Tom Holland exactly? Well, Tom in Homecoming was able to lift rubble off a falling building. In Far From Home, he was able to hold a bell tower up from falling, and Tom was able to catch a strike from Cole Obsidian. Previously, was throwing Iron Man around through buildings, and later was able to keep up with a Bruce Banner-controlled Hulkbuster 2.0 suit. So I would say every Spider-Man is around building level. Now with speed, it's very easy to scale the 3 Spider-Man, very easy. Same as the Insomniac Spider-Man, it's not their movement speed that's impressive, but their reaction speed. As all 3 live-action Spider-Men were able to react and dodge Electro's blast, Electro uses electricity. Now it is still possible for the 3 Spider-Man to be tagged by slower attacks, as it is just their reaction speed that is impressive, but their reaction speed would be massively hypersonic plus. Now onto how durable the 3 Spider-Men are. Same as Insomniac Spider-Man, their durability actually outscales their AP. So AP equals durability, so this gives every Spider-Man building levels of durability. But it gets a lot more impressive for the movie Spider-Man. In TASM 2, Electro was absorbing the power grid that powers all of Manhattan. Andrew, in order to destroy Electro, had to overcharge him, so he had to take head-on blasts of energy that can power the neighborhood of Manhattan. And he walked it off like nothing happened seconds later. This would give Andrew at least town levels of durability. Now in No Way Home, when all 3 universes collided, we see Electro come back, and he actually gets a hold of Tony's arc reactor. And when in possession of this reactor, it is stated Electro is more powerful than ever. And all 3 Spider-Man take head-on blast from this arc reactor powered Electro. And same as Andrew, they keep it pushing like nothing happened. This will give all 3 Spider-Man at least town levels of durability. Now for fighting skill, they are, to say the least, they are outmatched for sure. But they have no formal training or any skill of any sort in any sort of fighting or martial arts. They just use their acrobatic abilities and unorthodox style to fight. Tom has been shown to be beaten by weaker people, such as Star-Lord, as he lost to him due to his tech in Infinity War. So anyone with skill or technology could get the advantage on him due to no training of any fighting style. And this goes for all 3 as well. Now, experience is a lot harder to pin down for the 3 Spider-Man. I can't give a certain time for how long all 3 have been Spider-Man, as in No Way Home, Tobey and Andrew are a lot older than the last time we saw them. But they have experience fighting superpowered villains, as they have all fought each other's villains such as Electro, Lizard, Green Goblin, Sandman, and Doc Ock. While Tom has a lot more experience against superpowered villains, as he fought against Thanos and his army, Vulture, Mysterio, and fought along the Avengers against other Avengers during their little civil war. Now, for IQ, same as the Insomniac Spider-Man, all 3 Spider-Man are geniuses in their own right. Very smart, to the point it plays no effect at all. Tom, on the other hand, uses pop culture references to create game plans to defeat people such as Giant Ant-Man and Ebony Maw. He even figured out the pattern of Doctor Strange's mirror dimension and restrained him. So Tom Holland is the only Spider-Man in this fight with an advantage in battle IQ. All 3 Spider-Man have standard Spider-Man powers. Toby has internal spider web, so he never runs out as long as he's in the right mental state. Tom has the strongest spider sense out of all the Spider-Man in this fight, including the Insomniac Spider-Man, as Tom mastered his Peter tingle in Far From Home, being able to see through Mysterio's illusions and able to sense the whole fight with his eyes closed. In No Way Home, he even has greater feats as Doctor Strange literally separated Tom's spirit from his body, and Tom's spider sense still reacts on his own, moving his body to protect the little box he was using for Strange. Tom was also able to sense the personality shift of Norman Osborn to Green Goblin. Now for gadgets, all three Spider-Man have standard Spider-Man gadgets, web shooters or whatever, except Tom, who has Stark Tech. Tom, though, has no idea how to use almost all of it, so his tech really won't make a difference in this fight as he doesn't have access to the Iron Spider or the Edith glasses. Now, for weaknesses, the only Spider-Man with a weakness, of course, not counting human vulnerabilities, is Tobey Maguire, as his powers are correlated to his mental state. If his mental state lingers, he will lose his powers, even becoming blind and needing glasses. Now, teamwork, a very underrated category, but all three live-action Spider-Man have almost no experience working together, as they only met once in No Way Home, where they struggled to fight along one another, messing each other up. In order for them to succeed as a group, they needed to be led by Tom Holland, who has experience working with others as a team. So, in conclusion, the winner of this fight, I would say, would be the Insomniac Spider-Man duo of Peter and Miles. They are all relevant in strength, but due to Miles' Venom powers, AP scales higher, as a simple touch can power a city block, and add the force behind his punches, Miles' AP is above everyone in here. Miles does have arguably the slowest reaction speed in this fight, however, he just hasn't fought anyone like Electro, so he can't prove he can dodge electricity, but it can be argued he can by showings of relativity with Peter on his missions. But even if you don't want to give him the same level of reaction speed, it ultimately doesn't matter. No Spider-Man in this fight can move at the speeds Electro can, so no one can just speed blitz Miles. The live-action Spider-Man do take durability, as Peter is the least durable with City Block's level of durability. But the live-action Spider-Man's AP does not equal their durability, as they are far weaker than what the damage they can take. So at the most, they can just take more damage than only Peter though, because Miles is town level as well. Peter and Miles are the more skilled fighters as well, so in hand-to-hand combat, they have the advantage. Peter as well is the most experienced coming into this fight, as he's the longest known running Spider-Man. Toby and Andrew could have an argument for that, but they don't have a specific time date, as when they portaled in, it's a large time gap from the last time we've seen them. But Peter takes the overall quality experience as well, as he has fought superpowered individuals what seems to be like every day, so a fight like this is nothing new to him. Tom Holland does have the superior battle IQ, as he has shown to be able to come up with plans and lead squads to a victory, but he's still shown to have gotten just beaten up, straight up, by people relative to him. He's only created plans when he's had the time to come up with them, but while he is in a fight, he's not able to think of anything on the fly. He needs time to think about it. Miles' power arsenal is just deeper than everyone else's in here. His bag is a lot bigger, as he can shock others who touch him, and it transfers between whoever's in contact. Tom does have the strongest spider sense in this fight, as he can counteract Miles' camouflage ability. However, he just has no counter to the blinding light he releases when he uncloaks. So at this point, you might as well just let Miles stay invisible. And if Miles is ever near death, which most likely won't happen because they're just not stronger than Miles, but he releases a large venom blast of built-up bioelectricity. The Insomniac duo takes gadgets as well, as they have superior tech with the knowledge of how to use it, unlike Tom Holland. And no one in this fight has the ability to take advantage of each other's weaknesses, so it's ultimately useless to use that to argue your side. The live-action Spider-Man do have the number advantage, as it is a 3v2 fight, but they lack teamwork, shown when they were messing each other up and getting in each other's way when fighting in No Way Home. They only begin to mesh together when led by Tom Holland, the younger Spider-Man. As the Insomniac duo have been training together and having more experience working as a team. They go on missions together, they train together, and with their superior fighting skills, an extra person won't make a difference at all, especially when this extra person has no fighting skills. Toby and Andrew scale off of Tom, so his scaling is very important. If you believe Tom's higher scaling chain off of Cool Obsidian, then the outcome of this fight would be a lot different. However, I just don't believe in it. In Infinity War, Tom never just overpowered Cole. That's never happened. He caught an attack, and then he proceeded to get ragdolled along with Tony by a stronger and a superior fighter. Peter managed to stun Cole by throwing a car right back at him, but it led to no significant damage. People like to use the Cole and Hulkbuster fight to upscale Tom, but it doesn't make much sense to me as the Hulkbuster armor was already damaged coming into the fight, and the suit was piloted by Bruce Banner, who had zero idea how to use the armor. He bragged about how he was able to contend with the Hulk, but that was when Tony was in control. Cole just used his superior fighting skill and understanding of his weaponry to rip off pre-damaged pieces of the suit. He didn't just overpower Bruce like many think. Think of it like Moro breaking his hand punching Goku versus Charles Oliveira breaking your arm in a submission move. One is because of strength, the other is technique. Bruce, when he realized he was losing, begged the Hulk to help. Now, let's think about this for a second. Let's use logical thinking. Right? If the suit was as strong as the Hulk when under Bruce's control, why ask the Hulk to help? When Bruce realized the Hulk won't help, only then he actually got some hits in, but he still lost to Cole. He only won using a ripped off gauntlet to send Cole flying, where he proceeded to die in a small explosion. In Endgame, Tom did overpower Cole, but that was a younger and arguably weaker Cole, where he was killed by a giant Ant-Man stepping on him. Giant Ant-Man punched a Leviathan ship out of the air. So yes, Tom Holland is building level. That's it. And if Tom's building level, the two Spider-Man who scale off of Tom is building level. Even if you do really choose to argue that point, then it doesn't really matter, as there are higher scaling chains for the Insomniac duo, such as Peter fighting with Otto's superior Spider-Man and fighting the Inheritors in the Spider-Geddon comics. I can always do a part 2 when Spider-Man 2 drops and give Tom and Tobey access to their better gear, the black suit and the Iron Spider suit, maybe even the Edith glasses. But until then, as of right now, Peter and Miles win the fight.